Live from the 607, it's the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, where we're talking everything movies, TV, comics, and entertainment. Join in the conversation on social media with the hashtag ODPH, because here we go. Welcome to an all-new edition of the ODPH podcast. What's happening, everybody? Thank you so much for joining us this week. My name is Ken M. You know me as the host of the ODPH, but do you know my co-host? He's a statistician to the stars. He's a man of 1,008 aliases. His name is Padawan J.
Let me talk to you.
And boy, we have a lot to talk about in the land of movies, TV, comics, and more. You are tuned in to the entertainment edition of the ODPH. And Pad, after the show, where should everybody go?
ODPHpodcast.com.
Right on. Social media links, blogs, classified section, which has friends of the show such as 3FM Podcast, Dragon Master Games, Nerd Initiative, and many more. The directory, which has us on how many providers, Pad?
209,866.
And your source?
Trust me, bro.
So wherever you listen to the ODPH on, first and foremost, thank you for checking us out. Leave us a review on your favorite podcatcher. It definitely helps the algorithm of the show. Lastly, we have a fantastic music section, which features such bands as Brian Wolf and the Howlers, Second Suitor, Tom Jolu, Floodlands, and Shadow of the Robots. All you should go have their music in your collection to definitely start the summer off right. And for anything else I might have forgotten, because, hey, we cover a lot of parlay topics here at the ODPH, you can always find it at odphpodcast.com. And if you're still using hashtags on social media, well, why not use the hashtag ODPHpod? Kicking off this edition of the entertainment show, we have to recap. It's weird to say this, Pad, but I believe we're at the penultimate episode.
Yes, we are.
Of a show that has taken over pop culture.
Mm-hmm.
It has been one that has transcended the realms of video games to live action and really have set such a high bar that it's going to be tough to come close for anything following it.
Yeah.
So what are we going to be reviewing this week, Pat?
We are talking about episode 6 from season 2 of The Last of Us.
Yes, the game that has won over fans by Naughty Dog has now translated over to HBO with Pedro Pascal playing Joel and Bella Ramsey playing Ellie, and the story of the post-apocalyptic world that they live in with fungi that have been infecting people, and Ellie might be the cure, but reasons are happening, and there's been a lot going on. The game is very good, but super depressing.
Oh, yeah.
And
if you've had a rough day at work, that is not the game you want to go home and play.
Exactly. But the acting on the show has been amazing. They have followed the source material so well that this is why it's winning over the pop culture audience the way it is. And it's one thing that we've always said on the show. The more you follow the great source material, whether it's comics, video games, whatever the case is, when you follow it to the letter because it wins over that audience first, it's going to win over the pop culture audience. It always does. And this show has definitely set that high bar. So we are going to be breaking down, like Pat said, the penultimate episode entitled The Price. Now, if you're new to the ODPH, what we'd like to do is give you a spoiler-free statement of what we're going to be discussing. So if you haven't seen it yet, we don't ruin anything for you. However, we give you a countdown. And at that point, you have to be like the Clash. Do you stay or do you go? If you stay, you're going to hear spoilers. You're going to hear deep dives. You're going to hear theories. You're going to hear anything and everything. If you decide to bounce out, pause the episode. That's why I always say download it. And then jump back in after you watch the episode, because Pad puts the notes in the podcast liner notes of when we start talking about it. So you don't have anything ruined. So we cannot be blamed if you have something spoiled. So that all said, Pad, give me your spoiler-free statement on The Last of Us. Episode 6.
Thought it was a good episode. Thought it was a nice setup for the finale because we know this show is going a third season, and we even got some news this week of not necessarily confirming it, but kind of alluding to the fact that, third season might not even be the last one, that if things work out the way the creators of the show and the game hope they do, we could be getting a fourth season, and that would, quote-unquote, ideally be what happens. So it makes sense that we didn't necessarily get a bombastic, crazy, you-know-what to the wall episode like is typical with HBO shows, but you know what? It was still a very impactful one. It was a very nice one, and I enjoyed it.
It was one that was necessary. Obviously, there's a lot of key points that fans have been waiting to see, and it gives one character a nice send-off.
Yeah.
That we knew what happened to said character in the beginning of the season. It was something we all knew was coming.
Yeah.
But this was kind of that bittersweet moment to fill in the blanks of a lot of story that if you're not familiar with the game, it caught you up to speed. And due to the acting on the show, it really hit the points.
Yes.
Because now going into that season finale, there's a lot of different directions that we can expect the show to go in. Because as much as they're following the source material, they could always swing into a different path if they choose.
Sure.
It's completely up to them.
You do have the game's creators working on the show, so that is their prerogative.
Yes, but I think they're going to follow everything to the letter. And if you're only into this because you're pop culture, there's a lot of uncertainty happening. If you obviously you know the video games, you have a sense of what's going down.
Right.
So that's always key.
Right.
So where we are now, it's a good place to have that transition phase. Albeit though, the show has been so good this season. Anything less than an exclamation point finale is a failure. And that's the sad thing. It's the gift and the curse.
Yeah.
We say this about Game of Thrones all the time.
Oh, that's very true.
When it was in its prime time. Not necessarily last season.
Yeah, we don't talk about the last season.
No, not much. We have past episodes, though, if you'd like to hear our takes on that.
Oh, we have been around that long. Good Lord.
It's scary to say, Pat.
I try not to think about it, to be truthful.
It's scary to say, but we'll have our 8th anniversary next month.
It's like I got called an old vet today. I was like, and I told the person who said that to me, don't say that.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear that.
Yeah. I say we are very seasoned podcasters in the game.
Something like that.
So that all said, though, Pad, in 3, 2, 1, let's really talk about this episode.
Like I said, I thought the episode was very good. I thought it was a nice, kind of change of pace from what we've seen. It kind of moved some threads along, gave a little bit of explanation, and filled in some holes. We knew the outcome of. We just didn't necessarily how they got that way, and I thought it was a really good episode.
It did what it needed to do as far as Pedro Pascal's Joel. That was the key point of this, because we knew when we saw him at the end of last week's episode, it was obviously a dream sequence.
Yep.
Like, he is dead on the show.
Oh, yeah. I'll say this ain't Lord of the Rings. He's not coming back like Gandalf.
Exactly. So we knew what to expect here. However, in the flashback sequence, it does fill in a lot of gaps. That if you're not familiar with the source material, you got that emotional payoff that we've been waiting for. Albeit, though, it is something we kind of have to pause a little bit in certain aspects concerning Ellie's reaction.
Yeah.
Because you do see Bella Ramsey, who does an amazing performance this episode.
Oh, yeah.
Cover a lot of grounds of emotions. And we have to remember Ellie is still very young in comparison to where Joel is on the maturity scale, and dealing with his actions that have really caused a rift between them.
Yeah.
And we see why.
Yeah.
And I like how the fact that Joel is a very gray character. Like, he's not a good guy. He's not a bad guy.
He's just the guy.
He's just the guy, so to speak. But this episode, I think, really portrayed that. And I think that with characters that are multi-layered like this, it really hits the audience extremely hard.
Yeah.
And now going back to what happened at the beginning of the season when he got killed off, it kind of gives a bittersweet bookend to his character.
Yeah.
So where everything jumps in, I mean, really kicks off with the flashbacks.
Right, because you knew they weren't going to beat around the bush and drag this out any further.
No, this was going to jump right in, because as we see, Ellie is waking up on her 15th birthday. Joel is in there trying to celebrate, and he does give her a guitar. So it is kind of a bittersweet time here. It's just, the bond that they have. You see is very strong at this point.
Oh, yeah, and just to keep track of the timeline in your head, Ellie was 14 when the series began, when we jumped after the outbreak occurred and then jumped forward 20 years and all that stuff. So Ellie was 14 in season 1, and just for simplicity's sake, let's just, because we don't know when that took place in relation to her birthday, this is at least a year after that.
Yeah.
Or close to it. And he brings the guitar. And it's a really nice sequence, because, I always know you wanted one. We talked about it, and this and that. So it was, and plus, I know the whole guitar and the guitar playing is one of those seminal moments from the game. So it was nice to see that.
Yeah, it's a key point
to
their relationship. It kind of gives a nice moment, and we always say this with shows like The Walking Dead and such.
Yeah.
The post-apocalyptic world, they do sprinkle in these quiet moments of hope. And this was one, which I thought was very well played, because obviously the symbolism of the guitar and just what it means for those two, especially at this stage in their family structure, because at this point Joel is kind of the surrogate dad.
In a world, post-apocalyptic world, especially dealing with zombies, there's a lot of dark. There's not a lot of happiness going on, so you got to find those little bright spots when you can.
And that follows through to where he takes her for her 17th birthday.
16th.
Or is still 16th at the stage?
Oh, so the guitar's on her 15th birthday.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
16th is this next one.
Okay, because they kind of really speed things up
here.
Yeah,
yeah, it's quick. They don't really dwell on it super long. It's nice sequences, though.
Right, because this is where Joel takes Ellie to an abandoned museum. And this is something that we kind of find out that Ellie is a very big fan of, like, space.
Oh, yeah.
And really is just, like, overwhelmed almost to the point.
She's blown away. Yeah.
And they kind of do the whole thing where they fake the rocket ship taking off. I mean, it's
nice.
It's a nice moment. Yeah, like I said, I'm not knocking it, because this is something I think that they needed.
Yeah.
Because as you see of how their story has progressed, these moments of hope are just building up that when you see it finally crumble, it's that more impactful. So like I said, I kind of do the rolling of the eyes a little bit.
Right.
Not at this stage.
Well, and especially because we know what's going to happen.
Right. Because then when they jump up to her 17th birthday then.
Yep.
Is when Joel walks in with Ellie is having some...
She's intimate.
Yeah, she's having some relations with another girl. And Joel's reaction, he does not handle it well. I think it's just more so of him just accepting that Ellie is growing up.
Yeah, I mean, it's the stereotypical thing you see with parents anytime you're doing a coming-of-age portion of a story.
Yeah.
You know, the kid eventually gets to a point where they start growing up a little bit and the parent isn't ready to accept it.
Yeah. I mean, it's the end of innocence.
Yeah.
And I mean, like I say, parents deal with this all the time with their kids. So it's just something that he has a struggle to deal with. And especially too, after losing, what he's lost, see now Ellie is now growing up and, more or less becoming her own person.
Yep.
Joel is having a tough time dealing with it because literally he has devoted how much of his time now to protecting her, because she is possibly the cure for the fire or for the fungi.
Right, and and Joel's totally out of his element here, because I can't remember which episode it was, but I know it was after one of the episodes. They do that after the episode talk from the showrunners and creators and whatever. Ellie is past the age where Joel's own daughter was when she unfortunately passed in the show. So he was good to a point with, like, I know what to do. Now he's like every other parent out there that is dealing with a teenager blossoming into adulthood, flying by the seat of your pants going, oh my God, what do I do?
Yeah. So this is just something that you can kind of see the rifts happening here, but it's more of Joel not accepting that Ellie is growing up. And then, he's and like you touched upon, it's dealing with the fact that he's now seeing his quote unquote daughter grow up.
It's the kid growing up into an adult, and the adult still looking at the kid as, I mean, in the case of if it were like a parent and their biological kid, it's them looking at them like, oh, you're still the little baby I held in my arms that day at the hospital.
Yeah, and even Ellie struggling to say her quote unquote dad is, being so overprotective, and just, the dynamic between them.
She's being a kid.
Yeah, which, I mean, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Albeit, though, it is a zombie-esque apocalypse.
Yeah.
Everybody has to grow up fast.
Yeah.
So on her 19th birthday, Joel finally thinks that she's ready to go out on her first patrol around Jackson.
And she's wanted to for a little while now, but he's been kind of hesitant.
Well, he knows the dangers. I mean, all too well. I mean, this is to see where his character is gone.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very honest feeling that he has, and I don't fault him on it.
No, I don't either. I mean, I remember back when I was first learning how to drive, and I was like, "Oh, I know how to drive. I'm pretty good at driving in video games. I've done the arcade simulators, in stores and whatever else. That like, oh yeah, like I can totally do this fine." And then looking back, I think back on my experiences of learning how to drive, and good Lord, I was wrong.
Oh yeah, no, completely. But especially in this case, because if she is supposed to be the answer to everything,
the savior.
Yep. Even though, as we see, Joel's vision of that is very slightly skewed in comparison.
Yeah.
It's still one that he's super overprotective about, and then has struggles dealing with how to process things. And this is one of those cases too, because if something goes wrong on a patrol, it's his fault. And how does he do this when basically he's doomed the world? Albeit, though, previous actions might lead you to think he's already done that.
Right.
But as they go out on patrol, they do encounter Eugene, who's a member of the town, who is Gail's husband.
It was a little plot thread we got earlier in the season.
Yeah. So, and we find out that as they're on patrol, Eugene has been bitten.
Right, so we got the tail end of the thread. This is the start of it.
Yes, because obviously there is some tension between Joel and Gail.
Right, well, they see him there, and there's tension between Joel and Gail because when we first encounter them, Gail's husband Eugene is already dead.
Yep,
and she's like, "You killed Eugene," and she hates him for it. She told him as much. So we get to this what happened, and it's Joel and Ellie. They're out on patrol. And they're kind of going through the woods. And it's supposed to be, from what I remember in the episode, it was supposed to be a relatively safe path. That, like, not much is going to happen.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a beginner's training path for patrols.
It's supposed to be as routine can be.
Right. So, of course, best laid plans go to waste.
Of course.
And while they're on the path, they encounter Eugene, who is not slumped, but he's leaning up against a tree.
Well, he's been attacked.
Right, and he doesn't look good. And they're like, oh, no. Well, at first they're like, who is it? Who is it? And he's not answering because, well, he's been attacked, and he's not doing so well. And that's when they see it's Eugene. And they're like, oh, have you, what happened? Oh, I got attacked. Did you get bit? And that's when he reveals the bite marks, and he did, in fact, get bit.
Yeah. So now, obviously, there's a dilemma at hand. And this is where tough choices need to be made. Because, obviously, you can't save Eugene.
No.
So what do you have to do? Now, Ellie is saying, well, and one thing she is hearing at this point, too, is Eugene says he wants to say goodbye to his wife.
Right.
Like, that's the only thing he wants to do. Like,
he knows he's a goner.
Yeah, he knows. And he is pleading to go back. And Joel is sitting there hearing this.
Like, we can't do this.
But he knows in the back of his head, we can't risk this because if something should go wrong.
Right.
More people are infected.
Right.
We lose a community. It's
right, and it's never been established, at least in this universe that I can think of, how long it takes.
Right.
I know it's been alluded to and kind of hinted at when it comes to The Walking Dead, but with this one, it's never really been like, oh yeah, as soon as you get bit or as soon as you ingest one of the spores, you have X number of hours until you turn.
They've kept it to a varying degree.
Yeah,
if
which is good.
Yeah, which I don't mind.
Yeah.
But this is also plays into how Joel is processing it.
Yeah.
Because he knows time is now not on his side.
Nope.
You have to make a tough call on the spot.
Well, and especially, too, we the viewers don't know how far they are from base camp.
Yeah.
The base camp being the home base.
Right. No, there's a lot of gray area here that we just don't know, and that uncertainty helps drive Joel to make his choice. Albeit, though, Ellie is screaming, like, you got to take Eugene back, and he's
like, oh, yeah, we'll take him back.
And Joel is like, yeah, I promise I will. I promise I will.
Promise.
Why don't you head back without me, and we go. Because more or less, they get separated. And then as they're going back at this moment, Joel makes the call to lead Eugene away and shoot him.
Yep.
And basically, it comes down to that tough call.
Yep.
Which, I mean...
I don't fault him.
No, I mean, this is where, like we touched upon, this is a very, very skewed playing field.
This is a tailor-made moment in like one of the Telltale video games.
Yeah. Like, you have to make a tough call.
Yeah. Do you kill him or do you risk the home base and bring him back?
Yeah, because now, especially as we find out later, when the virus is airborne, well, he's breathing around everybody. What is that going to do? I mean, but like I say, it's playing armchair quarterback, but still, you can see the play on the field.
Yep.
So when Joel leads, Eugene away, well, that doesn't sit well with anybody.
Nope.
Especially Gail, because Joel lies and says, well, he'd rather, kill himself than hurt anybody.
Yep.
Ellie exposes it pretty much.
Well, yeah, because she realizes Joel's lying to her, which is something, she's had in the back of her head for a while, that something's not quite right. And this isn't the thing that's been not quite right, but it sure as hell doesn't help it.
Yeah. So Ellie decides to unload the whole truth. Because now it's getting pieced together. Well, Joel lied about this.
As he lied about the fireflies.
Yeah, like what else has he lied about? Which now causes such a big emotional rift.
Yep.
And I understand that because, you think about it, Ellie's had Joel on a pedestal for so long.
Yep.
That now you see the facade. You see how fake it is.
Yeah.
Even though what Joel has done, all good intentions, lead to roads of sadness.
Yeah.
That's the situation. It's like he had the best intentions at heart, but at the end of the day, not everybody's going to love the call.
Right, and it's heartbreaking for her because, to our knowledge, this is the first person in her life, first adult in her life, that's given a you-know-what about her and proved it.
Yeah.
That the entire time she's been alive, it's been a foster home, and her parents unfortunately passed, and all this other stuff, and all this horrible, horrible backstory.
Yeah.
That she was, to me, it seemed like she didn't want to give any adults the time of day just because why bother? It's not going to mean anything. They don't care. And finally, she meets one that does.
Yeah.
And means it and shows it. But then what happens? He ends up lying. He ends up, hiding things from her. And to her, he's just like all the others.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the whole thing, too. And especially in her case, like she doesn't realize how special she is per se.
No.
And Joel does. But so Joel is thinking about everybody else because he knows, okay, if Eugene comes back, this is the problems we have. And this is obviously something Ellie doesn't realize because, Ellie is immune as far as we know.
As far as we know.
So everything really comes full circle that is causing their conflict, and this causes the big rift that we see at the beginning of the season. Even to the point where we see the moment of Joel's perspective involved in the dance and the fight that breaks out there.
Didn't expect that.
I thought that was a cool touch. I liked seeing that.
Yeah, it was.
Because it really explains about what he's going through and the struggle that now he's lost his other daughter here in a sense. And this is what's really causing their problems. And then it comes down to when Joel's on the porch playing the guitar, kind of strumming.
Yeah.
Ellie shows up. And they have their moment where basically they try laying everything on the table.
Yep.
And this is where Ellie is saying, basically, you got to tell me about everything you did.
And don't lie, because I know you've been lying.
Yeah. And more or less, Joel says, he fesses to everything.
Yeah.
He comes clean, but the big driving point is, he says, I regret nothing. Mm-hmm. He does the Conor McGregor. I like to take this time to apologize for absolutely nothing. So this is where it sinks in, and Ellie has to kind of put it together. And I think in this moment, too, and like I said, I love the dynamic between Ramsey and Pascal. This is like, if this gets nominated for an Emmy, I understand why.
Oh, yeah.
Because this moment really hits.
Yeah.
Ellie has to come back and say, like, I don't think I could ever forgive you, but I want to try. And so this kind of gives a little area which I was hoping we got.
Yeah.
Because knowing of how her character acts when Joel dies, and knowing how much anger she had, it now makes sense that they were trying to mend fences before this, and they never got the chance.
Because the way we saw it was they hated each other. There was the rift, and then all of a sudden she's like pleading for his life.
Yep.
Which, on the one hand, makes sense.
Oh, no, it made complete sense.
Guy who's been with you for 5+ years now, traveled 3/4 of the way across the country. It made sense to a certain degree, but it's still, before that scene was a little bit of a jump for, you hated this guy, but now all of a sudden you're willing to like go scorched earth just to get his revenge.
Well, it's just something that we see with all teenagers.
Yeah.
The range, even though she's not a teenager at this point,
right,
there's still young emotions there.
Oh, yeah.
Even to the point when Joel explains about the Firefly situation and how he did what he did, and she's like, I could have saved the world. I was not supposed to be here. And she's like, and he literally says, to paraphrase, like, you being here means more than the world.
Yep.
And I think when that moment sinks in, that's where you see Ellie finally realize the one person that gave a crap about me is now gone. and I need to go get some vengeance for this. And it completely justifies her character's actions, which is like brilliant. This is absolutely brilliant. Then they just jump back to the present, and this is where we see Ellie is going to the theater.
Yep.
And that's kind of how things wrap up. It really drives home the point, though. Like I say, this is a bittersweet moment.
Yeah.
Because you get a lot of backstory. You get that final moment of like the happiness between Joel and Ellie.
Yeah.
And then it just goes up in smoke.
Yeah.
I mean, any final thoughts on this, Pad?
Thought it was a good episode. I thought it was nice to kind of fill in those holes. We knew what had happened, but we just didn't know how we got from A to B. That's kind of the nature of things when you do time jumps and you're not following things sequentially. But in hindsight, it makes sense. And I'm interested to see where this goes, for the end of season 2, and I just hope we don't have to wait as long for season 3.
Yeah, that's the only thing I'm not worried about. But I think the long wait, it can either help or hurt. Because it depends on how this finale leaves.
Yeah.
And that's why I say I can't stress enough. They need to drop an exclamation point. Like, this has to be the talk Sunday night on social media.
Right.
This needs to have that shutdown moment. I don't know what they have planned, obviously knowing a little bit about the video game.
Right.
I would not say I'm an authority per se, but from what I've seen on the show, there's a couple different things they could do, but I don't know if they're going to. And especially if they're saying now they can't finish the story in 3 seasons.
Right.
That means like they could throw a curve in there. And that's kind of where I'm thinking they're going to do. But then again, what they've done thus far has not missed. Why tempt fate?
Right.
That's the only thing. But that's what makes it so compelling, is up to this point, the show has not missed.
No.
I mean, has it been as strong as the first season?
No.
No, but
it's close.
But it's comparing apples to oranges.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still produce.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you're not going to capture that moment. But they've taken it in a different direction here, and then where they're going to wind up at the end of this. See, that's the key point. That's what I'm waiting to see, because you're going to have to really have fans on the edge of their seat begging and pleading for the next season. And it just depends on what they want to do. But the one luxury that they've seen with the show is if they take some long time off, it's not going to hurt it per se. But they have to really come and deliver. And I think when fans know the story is near the end, I don't know how the pop culture audience reacts.
Yeah.
A lot of times.
Yeah.
Like it can either be, like the ending of The Sopranos per se, or it could be the ending of The Umbrella Academy.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I think both shows had very solid final seasons, but one was really the showstopper and pop culture was really enamored with. The other one kind of came and went and flew under a radar.
Yeah.
How that show is going to wind up doing, I don't know. But that's what we're going to have to wait to see. But we'll definitely be talking about the finale on next week's show. So in the meantime, hit us up on the hashtag ODPH Pod. What is your thoughts about HBO and HBO Max, because we have to get it official, of The Last of Us Season 2, Episode 6, entitled The Price? We gave you our takes. Now we want to hear yours. We're going to get a quick break. We'll be right back.
Do you like comic books?
What about movies and TV shows?
Well, we may be the show for you.
We're Hops Geek News, a weekly podcast that discusses comics, movies, and TV shows while featuring a beer of the week.
Every week we chat about what we messed up on the week before, and then we dive into what we're reading and watching, as well as some news.
We then wrap it up with a geek-themed topic of the week.
You can find us anywhere you listen to podcasts by searching Hops Geek News.
Cheers.
The content you are listening to is part of the Nerd Initiative Podcast Network. For more info about the home of pop culture positivity, be sure to check out nerdinitiative.com.
Coming back for another segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast, and it is time to recap Star Wars Andor. Season 2 is finally over, and I don't mean that in a bad sense, because the way that the show has been streamed, 3 episodes each week,
I hate it.
has been a lot. Yeah, it's been one that have not been fans of.
Disney, I'm sure you're listening because, hey, we're lucky like that.
Yes, we do. Hi, guys.
Please don't do that again. I am a married man with a wife who loves me and a very busy day life. I can do it, but I'm not happy about it at the end of it. So please don't do 3 episodes again.
Please.
Please.
It is very tough with also the amount of content we do here.
Yeah. Comic reviews and just trying to
streaming
live life.
and yeah,
I want to see my family every now and again.
Daily life. Thank God for patient wife and girlfriend.
Yeah.
Because good Lord,
Yeah. Huh?
it's a lot to intake. But we do this for you, like we touched upon in the last segment. We do this for now going on 8 years, and we're not stopping anytime soon. But it is still a lot to intake about the prequel for the Rogue One movie that launched into A New Hope and kicked off the Skywalker trilogy in style. Yes, folks, I acknowledge 4, 5, and 6 as my original movies. That is me. Not to say 1, 2, 3 are not great.
They're not the originals, though.
But they're not the originals. I'm sorry. It is what it is. But Rogue One obviously left fans wanting more, and this has been the prequel that we have been waiting to see. And obviously the first season, as we touched upon previous episodes, not the best thing.
Nah, a little too slow for us.
A little too slow, but Diego Luna as Cassian Andor has been really picking up steam with the character and where he has gone in his now fight against the Empire and what they're doing there. And obviously getting some help from some old friends. I mean, Stellan Skarsgård as Luthen Rael has been tremendous. Genevieve O'Reilly as Mon Mothma.
Oh, wonderful.
Like I say, the casting has been on point. Everybody really came in and delivered on it because this has been leading right into Rogue One. So there's been a lot going on this season, and like we touched upon, they've been releasing 3 episodes per week, emphasizing that those are separate years.
Yeah.
Involving the lead into Rogue One. So much like the last segment, we're going to give our spoiler-free statement on the last half of the show because we have not had a time to review 6 or 7 through 12.
Yeah.
Then we're going to do our usual countdown and then kind of dive into spoilers. Not do a full breakdown per se, but kind of what stuck out to us.
Yeah.
So, Pad, give me your spoiler-free statement on Star Wars Andor Season 2.
Yeah, so the last 6 episodes I thought were really good, especially episodes 8. And then I thought episode 8 was probably some of the darkest Star Wars I've ever seen. And I'm putting it on the level of it's close to the Umbara arc from Clone Wars. If you've seen Clone Wars and you've seen the Umbara arc from season 3, I want to say.
Yeah.
That's dark. That for a kid's show, that is dark, and this is right up there. That episode's right up there with it for Andor season 2. The last 3, I will admit, I watched it the first time. I watched it when it dropped, and everyone was raving about it. Everyone was, oh my God, greatest show on television, greatest Star Wars show of all time. And maybe it was just I'd been up for I don't know how many hours at that point, and I was lacking sleep, and I hated the fuck out of it. And I'm like, no, and I even tweeted, I think I'm in the minority. Decided to give it another chance where, all right, I got a little bit more sleep in me. I'm not as busy. I don't got as much running around to do. And I rewatched the final 3 episodes. I enjoyed it more than I did the first time. Now, am I sitting here saying it's the greatest piece of Star Wars content of all time? No. You know, if you think that, that's certainly fine and that's perfectly okay. For me, I think there's better out there, but hey, that's the beauty of choice. But no, I thought the final 6 episodes were good. I enjoyed the hell out of them, and it was very interesting to see it play out, especially in relation to how close it got to Rogue One, and it really filled in some interesting points on Rogue One in the larger Star Wars universe that had me laughing a little bit, and I'll get to that when we get into spoilers.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I thought the season ended very well.
Yeah.
Was I forever changed? No. And I think that it was, I don't know, like the pop culture reaction I was seeing from a lot of people that really were putting this on a pedestal.
Yeah.
And it reminded me in such a weird sense of how the post-credit scene for Thunderbolts was the greatest 3 minutes in Marvel Cinematic history.
Yeah.
And it was like, I think a lot of fans these days are really reaching and wanting for something to be that moment. And I think that a lot of fans were looking at this to be that moment.
Yeah.
And I think it was good. Yeah. But we have to also remember, too, we know where this goes.
Yeah.
You're not going to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
So it was a nice compliment piece to Rogue One. And capturing the magic that we saw in 2016. Yeah, they did a great job to do this.
Oh, yeah.
And like I say, I really enjoyed the last 3 episodes. I do agree with you. The one is dark can be.
Holy shit. I'm looking on IMDb. That episode on IMDb has a 9.8 out of 10.
Yeah, I love that episode.
Oh.
I will already I don't know if that's really a spoiler or not.
No, I think that's most people's opinions.
But I will say, like, I thought that was the strongest episode of the entire season.
Uh-huh.
And I thought of how they wrapped things up. It was very solid. And I liked how things were just really brought together. But like I say, I wasn't blown away like my life is forever changed.
Right.
Or I've now rewritten the trilogy. I mean, if that is you, listen, do you. And I'm not hating on it. I'm just saying for me, Ken M of the ODPH, it was good.
Uh-huh.
But I was not going, whoa.
Yeah.
But I think that we're going to start teetering into spoiler talk.
Yeah.
So might as well just throw that countdown on and really get into it. So, Pat, in 3, 2, 1, give us your feelings.
Like I said, I thought the final 6 episodes were good. 8, dark as shit.
Yeah.
And really, as someone who's been consuming Star Wars content since they were re-released, since the original films were re-released in theaters in the mid to late 90s, you know, it was dark. And I was like, wow, it was incredible. And then the final 3 episodes, like I said, I didn't enjoy them at first, gave them another run. And once I was able to sit there and kind of take everything in, especially remembering, you know, hey, we already know the ending. This isn't reinventing, you know, the end goal. It's not changing the future because, hey, most of the folks you see in this show are going to die in the very near future in this universe. Mm-hmm. You know, once keeping that in mind and kind of filling in the context of, you know, where this goes and where it ends up, it really added some depth to Rogue One that I didn't know it needed and didn't think it had, you know, and it really elevated Rogue One a little bit. And it even elevated A New Hope more, if that's believable or not, because there's certain things that get revealed or at least alluded to at the end of the series that I sat there and went, are you fucking serious? And I don't mean that in a bad way. I couldn't believe it, and I was dumbfounded.
Well, I was glad that they filled in some gaps.
Yeah.
Like, that was one thing I really liked. But I think it's tough to really kind of say about the last 3 because we both say, Who Are You? Episode 8 is the best one in the season.
Oh, easily.
Like, I don't think I don't think anything else comes close to it. I really don't. Like,
no.
The last 3 are great. But
there's moments, but then there's also moments where I'm like, yeah, okay.
But yeah, like I say, it's kind of like a 12-round fight.
Yeah.
Like there's some rounds, yeah, they can kind of match up toe for toe, but by the time you get in those championship rounds, like nothing's coming close to it.
Yeah.
That's where I really felt with this. And I thought that for what they did, they really filled in a lot of gaps.
Uh-huh.
It was one that anytime you deal with the Skywalker saga, you know you have to really nail.
Yeah.
Like, you can't have room for error.
Yeah, especially with not even just the Skywalker saga, just anything with the original trilogy.
Right. Like I say, because, I mean, that's what I always say. For me, I guess I have to get a little translation. 4, 5, 6 is the Skywalker trilogy to me.
Yeah.
7, 8, 9 is a whole different thing.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. But when you think about Mark Hamill and
Carrie Fisher and Harrison.
Yeah. When you think about them, that's your Star Wars. Like, that's the benchmark. And if you're going to even tamper with going back to that universe, you have to nail the key points. I thought what they did strongly was fill in the gaps. Like you said, there were some key points. I'm like, okay, this is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But I think what they really wanted to give you, and I'm not mad about it, but I was kind of surprised, is how they just really wanted to emphasize the growth of Cassian Andor.
Yeah.
And just really to spend 2 seasons on it to really give that moment where you understand of his redemption story, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, okay, this is very solid. But like after 8, it's all downhill from there, even though you do plateau.
Yeah.
Like I say, 11 and 12 are great.
11 and 12, 11 and 12 are good.
Yeah, you plateau and you're at a good spot there. But I think, like, you know, overall, it was a necessary key point. I don't like the structure of it.
Sure.
That's one thing I'll say.
Oh, yeah, I don't either.
Right,
I don't like we did 12 episodes this season and we jumped 5 years into the future with we jumped a year forward after every third episode.
Yeah, like that.
That's just
that wore thin.
Poor planning on my part.
Yeah.
Well, I won't say on my part. It's poor planning on their part.
Well, I understand that they're trying. I mean, because you kind of have to look at it like this. They wanted to make every a year a movie-esque.
Yeah.
And that's tough.
Yeah.
Because was Rogue One the movie that you like to basically center around and you to go like, okay, we're going to do 4 complement movies to it?
Yeah.
It's weird math.
Yeah. I will say the one thing I didn't like, was how little K2SO was in this.
Yes.
Because there was a lot made, at least this is how it feels to me.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot made when the show was announced, and they were up front saying, hey, you're not going to see K2 in the first season. He's not going to show up until the second season. I'm like, oh, okay. So this is clearly going to span a decent amount of time. He won't have seen him. And the entire time we're going through it, 5 years, 4 years, 3 years, 2 years, I'm like, where the fuck is K2? Where the fuck is K2? And he finally shows up at the end of episode 9, Welcome to the Rebellion. And he gets reprogrammed and it's a funny line on Alan Tudyk's part.
Yeah.
Hey, would you kindly point that thing away from me? Like Alan Tudyk, yes, time has passed since the last time he played the role. He did not miss a beat throughout this the entire few episodes he was in. But the thing that I just didn't like was you get this sense in Rogue One that K2 and Cassian have been together for a while. They've really seen it, and they've really been in the trenches fighting the fight and doing what they can for the rebellion. When in actuality, they've been together for like a year and change by the time Rogue One comes around. And then when Rogue One takes place, it's in the span of probably a week. So it's like, okay, they haven't been together forever. They've been together for a year and change.
Yeah.
That was just, I felt like it cheapened their relationship a little bit.
Oh, big time. Big time. But I think for where everything kind of moved,
Yeah.
they really nailed the key points they needed to. Because, like I say, this is all about Cassian and his redemption story.
Yep.
The Mon Mothma, I liked how they kind of set it up.
Yeah, because before Rogue One and before Andor, you heard rumblings of her, and you heard, I think her name gets mentioned, if I remember correctly, in Revenge of the Sith. She filmed scenes, they got deleted. They're in the deleted scenes on Disney Plus and on the various DVDs and Blu-rays. But you don't see her until Return of the Jedi. So it's like there's this whole backstory, and there's this whole thing that like you don't know anything about her. So it was great to get her stuff filled in here.
Yeah.
And it was great to see the stuff with the Senate and the political side of things, just because you think of the universe at large, where it goes from the end of Revenge of the Sith and the final shot what's the final shot we see of the Senate and the diplomatic side of things in the Star Wars universe? It's Palpatine, Sidious, whoever you want to call him at that point, giving the speech in front of the Senate, and everyone's cheering, reorganize in the First Galactic Empire. And this is how Liberty dies, with thunderous applause. The next time we see, or at least up until now,
Right.
we see or hear mention of the Senate is when Tarkin comes in episode 4 and goes, oh yeah, the Emperor dissolved the Senate. They're not a thing. They're not a problem anymore. The planets will answer directly to the governors and the Moffs. Like, okay, what the hell happened? Like, how the hell did we get to this point? What do you mean? It was nice to get that filled in.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that's, like I say, those key points really helps them.
Yeah.
Because overall, I mean, they did what they needed to do here.
Yeah.
And it's a nice compliment piece, and it is exciting. Like I say, it's one thing, especially you get to episodes 11 and 12.
Yeah.
Because you go on that slow downhill moment. And the one thing, too, that I like that they did is they did go dark. It kind of got to mature level.
A little bit.
With a lot of their reaction, but the one thing I think it kind of reflects is how hellish war is, and literally how desperate both sides are to win.
Yeah, and I like the other thing too they fleshed out a little bit was the relationship between Saw Gerrera and the Rebellion.
Yeah,
because that was something that you first meet Saw Gerrera if you watched Clone Wars. He got introduced in the animated series, and then he showed up in Rogue One, and everyone's like, whoa, what the hell? How did he get to this point? And what you see in Rogue One is they try, and you gets alluded to, is they tried working together. It didn't work out. They don't like each other. And you get a little bit of that explained here, and I like how they filled that in, and I like how you get some of those moments in the final couple episodes where they're like, hey, you can't do this. He's like, screw this. I have to do this.
Yeah. No, it definitely helps. And when you get that screen time, it just helps, like, for what you've seen. Like, if you're a big Star Wars fan like Pat is,
yeah,
and we make no secret about it.
This is true.
Arguably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, at 607 Podcast and Nerd Initiative.
Probably.
He can really break it down about the key points, but he also knows these characters when they jump in for the first time.
Yeah, like you should have seen my facial reaction when he showed up on screen in Rogue One. I went, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And then my next reaction was, what the hell happened to him?
Yeah. And to see that in his reaction, but for the pop culture audience, where I kind of lean into when it comes to this portion of Star Wars, that's where it's kind of like it's very cool to get these stories filled in a little bit, and to kind of see where the theories go. Albeit, though, there's one theory that has been making rounds, and I want to get Pad's opinion on air about it.
Okay.
We do know that at the end of episode 12, Bix is cradling a child.
Yeah.
And I know the online speculation is that Bix and Cassin's child is Poe. What is your take about that?
I hadn't heard that. I'd seen some people speculating that. I had not heard that. Oh. I mean, I don't think it is, because if I remember the comics correctly, Poe's parents are at the Battle of Yavin.
That's what I thought too. They're involved in a battle.
If I'm not mistaken, now it could be an adopted thing and they could retcon it later, but if I'm not mistaken, and I can look this up, Poe's parents are established from the comics. And this isn't old Star Wars canon where there's various levels to this, and some stuff's canon, some stuff isn't. Everything in Star Wars is canon, from the young adult and kid novels to the comics. So I know that can't be the case, that those are his parents. Or that Cassian in this. Plus, the timing doesn't work out.
See, that was one thing that I wanted to ask you about, because this is how wild this theory has gotten.
Now, it could be possible that the kid is Poe's father or mother, whatever the gender of the kid is. But is it Poe? No, the timing just doesn't work out, because from Rogue One is basically year zero in the Star Wars timeline, because the whole Star Wars timeline revolves around the Battle of Yavin. Mm-hmm. Everything before it, minus or before the Battle of Yavin, everything is after the Battle of Yavin. From Yavin to Return of the Jedi, it's 5 years, I want to say, and then from Battle of Yavin to Force Awakens, that's like 30, 40. So the time, now I think about that, the timing might work, but I know for a fact, because I was reading the issues at one point, Poe's parents were at the Battle of Yavin.
Yeah.
And he wasn't around at that point. So the timing doesn't work out.
See, this is the wild theory, and this is how crazy this is. If you do a Google search about Poe, type Poe Dameron, what's the second thing that pops up? Poe Dameron parents.
Well, I'm looking at the Star Wars.
I know, but this is just how crazy this has gotten.
I mean, I'm looking at the Star Wars fandom page, formerly known as Wikipedia, which is the go-to source if you want anything Star Wars related. Seriously, I'm showing you. Yeah, I'm looking right now. The thing for Poe Dameron and just how freaking long it is, and it lists his parents as Kes Dameron and Shara Bay.
So yeah, like I say, the theory is wild, and that's why I say I was.
Yeah, no, that's not Poe.
I was not buying per se, but I'm just curious your take on it, because
no.
I mean it could.
It's a fun theory, but no.
It could be possible that obviously Cass and Bix's child could be either Kes or Shara. Yeah, and then that could
it could be.
That could tie in more. But it's just wild to think that this has gone over, and that's why I say when pop culture is reaching about trying to put this show on a higher pedestal. This is one of those reasons how.
Yeah.
Because when I started seeing this, and there's memes that are up right now.
Oh, I'm sure there are.
Oh yeah, you see the family portrait.
Oh, I'm sure there are.
And it's wild, but that's just a speculation, and I think that's one thing that this show has really won over with that pop culture audience. They're now seeing this and trying to make their own theories about it.
Oh yeah.
And really elevate this to even higher plateau, which I think. If it has that effect on you and gives you that enjoyment, sure, go ahead. We're not saying don't. But for us, this has been a very solid show.
Yeah,
it ended very strong.
Oh,
I say, because right after you tell me you did not want to go watch Rogue One right then and there.
I've been told, and I think it might have been Diego Luna who said it, that if you see especially the last 3 episodes and go right into watching Rogue One, which I know some folks did that because, hey, you're some fortunate folks.
Yeah.
It made the viewing experience incredible. 2 things I want to mention quick with this that I just found absolutely hysterical. Can we talk for a minute about how the Death Star got blown up because of middle management fuck ups.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Can we talk about the reason that the plans got stolen. The rebellion found out about the Death Star, but they only found out about it because an Imperial middle manager got sent the wrong files. And it got leaked to a spy in the Empire.
Yeah, that was wild.
Can we also talk about how realistically which this just makes the scene from Robot Chicken even funnier? If you've seen the scene where Vader calls up the Emperor after the Death Star gets blown up, look it up on YouTube if you haven't seen it.
It's incredible.
Can we just talk about how the Empire realistically had a functional Death Star for maybe a month?
Yeah,
maybe less.
The math they do about this.
I was dying when I started doing the math in my head. I'm like, wait a minute. So you mean to tell me they had a functional Death Star for maybe a month?
See, the way I agree with you. I agree with, like, the more you start breaking it down, you're like,
oh, it was funny.
You're like,
now I understand when they went to build the second one, they started with the laser.
It started there because that's what they needed to. That's what they needed to start with. Yeah, no,
they started with the laser in the second one.
It's completely wild to see how they play it out. But yeah, no, that's exactly why. Because you do the math on it. Oh, it's just like what are we doing here?
What do you mean? What do you mean they blew it up? We haven't even finished paying the thing off.
Yeah. And especially how it gets displaced on a file. It ranks up there with how somebody plugs in an iPod more or less for Independence Day.
Yes.
And takes out the alien invasion.
It's the alien ship with the it's not even it wasn't even an iPod, it was a floppy disk.
Yeah, it's like it's compatible? Like what? That was the kind of vibe I had with this.
I just thought it was funny.
Oh, it's hilarious. Just to think about it, but a lot of fans are glossing over that.
Oh, sure.
Which, I mean, listen.
I mean, it's the Empire. They're not exactly known for efficiency.
I mean, listen, they pulled off
20 years.
They pulled off one thing right, and then that was it. They got Jar Jar elected and swayed everything in their favor. They got Order 66 done. That was the only thing they've ever nailed.
Yeah, that's true.
Everything else has been like, But overall, though, Andor delivered on putting a nice bookend to Cassian's story.
Yeah.
Opened up a few other areas of the Star Wars lore that mean maybe we'll see some payoff down the road. I don't know.
Could be.
But Pat, final thoughts on the season?
Good season. Is it the best Star Wars show of all time? No, it's certainly better than some. But am I going to sit here and say, oh, it's top 3, top 1 Star Wars show of all time? Probably not. I might put it in top 3. I'd have to really sit and think about it. And how are you going to limit me? Are you going to limit me to the live action? Or are you going to limit me to everything? Because you know what? I don't know. It's good though, and it's certainly worth the watch. If you're a fan of Rogue One, if you're a fan of Star Wars, and you're kind of curious how some things happen and how we got from A to B, because it does fill in some holes very nicely.
You want to put a grade on it?
Oh, out of 10, 7.5, 8, somewhere in there. It's good. It's good. I don't regret watching it like I have with some other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And at no point, despite the 3 episodes being an absolute pain in the you-know-what, there was no point where I was sitting there going, Christ, I gotta go watch another 3 episodes of Andor. I was excited to do it. I was excited to see how it played out and see where things ended. Did I agree with that it was released? No, because it was over. It's been over in a month, but still, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I have to say I'm right around there. I give it an 8. I think it's a solid there because of the back end, more than the beginning.
Yeah,
because I don't, as much as I'm not a fan of how they set it up, because I really don't think we needed a year by year breakdown.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was bad time management on it.
Mm-hmm.
The acting you get from Diego Luna and Genevieve O'Reilly alone is enough to win this over. And the fact that they were not afraid to go for some deep dives and really kind of bring things together into focus and give a prequel more life than it probably should have had, I think has been the strong suit of this. In comparison to season 1 was a snore because of how long they tried doing the slow burn. This season, they tried a different tactic. Did it work? No, but the acting and writing made up for it when it needed to, and that's the back half of the season. When you got to that 7 to 12 run, and especially 8, which we say is the best episode of the season.
Oh, yeah.
That's when the show really got some legs, And that's what really picked it up from just being the normal prequel where you didn't really feel that danger or excitement or even the meaning of why we're doing this. Mm-hmm. It was solid where it was leading to, but this is where you really felt the kick in, the butt there to get going and really have that impact. And I really thought 8 was the setup, 11 and 12 was the nice let off, and puts you right into Rogue One perfectly.
Yeah.
I think, though, there are some things to learn from it, but I think overall, though, it's well worth the watch. You can space it out at your own time now and really have that appreciation for what happens in Rogue One. And that movie is now very much more important to the Star Wars universe than I think anybody ever realized when it first came out. That said, we gave you our takes on Disney Plus and Star Wars Andor Season 2. Now we want to hear yours. So hit us up on the hashtag ODPH Pod. What is your overall takes on the second season of Andor? Did you love it? Did you hate it? And why? So let's talk about it, shall we? But we're going to get our last break in. We'll be right back.
Hey, this is Scott Snyder, and you better listen to the ODPH podcast, or I'm coming for you, and Batman is coming for you.
Coming back for the final segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast. Pad, what you got?
Got a couple things to talk about. The first of which is some casting news for the upcoming Hunger Games movie, The Hunger Games: The Sunrise on the Reaping. A couple more cast members have been announced. The first of which was announced today, I believe, as we record, yesterday. And that is Ellie Fanning is joining the cast playing Effie Trinket. Now, of course, this is the role that was played by Elizabeth Banks in the original films, but she is joining the cast as a younger version since this is set before the original films. Elle Fanning, of course, who played Alice in Super 8 and was also Aurora in Maleficent, among a host of other things. Fantastic actress is joining the cast, and also joining the cast, and boy, here's a name joining this cast that I sat there, saw this, and went, oh shit. Playing the role of President Cornelius Snow, which, yes, that is the same role that was played by the late Donald Sutherland, but playing a younger version of him, Ray Fiennes. Yes, that Ray Fiennes, of course, was in Schindler's List, Harry Potter, James Bond, host of other things. Dude's got a lot of acting credits. Fantastic actor, by the way. Joining the cast, playing the role of Cornelius Snow, as I alluded to. He is joining the cast also along with Joseph Zada, Whitney Peake, McKenna Grace, Jesse Plemons, Kelvin Harrison Jr., Maya Hawke, Lily Taylor, and Ben Wang. Are also in the cast. I think my favorite part of this, though, is Rachel Zegler's reaction to this. And you might be sitting there going, what the hell does Rachel Zegler have to do with this?
Yeah, I was going to say.
Rachel Zegler was in the last Hunger Games movie, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, set when President Snow was a young lad. Fell in love with the character Rachel Zegler plays in the movie. Rachel Zegler saw the reaction online and on an Instagram post that said, quote, "Not my movie X being Lord Voldemort," close quote.
Oh my God.
So I thought that was funny.
That is amazing.
Then in some more movie news that I didn't see this coming, but hey, you know what? It makes a little bit of sense. And that is, according to the folks over at Deadline, we're getting a live action Street Fighter movie.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
We're going back. I mean, after the Jean-Claude Van Damme cinematic classic.
In the words of Lost, we have to go back. But yeah, so according to Deadline, we are getting a movie, and there are 4 actors being considered for unknown roles at this point, but they're being considered. One of them is Andrew Koji, who you might know from Bullet Train. Another one you might know is Noah Centineo from Black Adam. Black Adam, To All the Boys I've Loved. Some dude named Jason Momoa. I don't know.
Really?
I don't know if you've ever heard of him. And then put your index fingers in the sky, folks. Acknowledge your tribal chief.
Oh, Roman?
Roman Reigns are all in talks to star in the game's adaptation. Holy smokes. Don't know who they're going to play. Fans are going wild with speculation. But that has been announced by the folks over at Deadline.
Then this might make some sense because on social, I've seen on Twitter today, Akuma has been tagged to Roman Reigns, and I was like, "What is going on with this?" Okay, now this makes sense.
All right, yeah.
Like I say, unofficial. I'm not saying it's the casting,
Sure.
maybe that's why people are casting it. So
Could be.
We'll see.
In more casting news that says, hey, we're getting close to this, and man, I cannot wait for this. We got a little bit of casting news for the Greta Gerwig Chronicles of Narnia movie.
Oh, really?
The
Okay.
Magician's Nephew. Yep, this is the one coming to Netflix. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Carey Mulligan is in negotiations to nab a key role in the movie. The article on Hollywood Reporter goes on to say, quote, the project is deep in the casting stage with Daniel Craig, Emma McKee, and Meryl Streep, the big names on the roll call as the production seeks out its young leads. So the film is going to be adapted. The first one they're going to be doing is adapting The Magician's Nephew, 6th novel in the series, but it takes place before the first one, so it's a little bit of a prequel for everything that went down. It was published after the most famous book in the series, The Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, serves as the latter's prequel. It follows two youngsters who, thanks to an uncle's magic dabbling, unleash the evil White Witch into a turn of the century 20th century London. Craig is reportedly playing the uncle, Mackie the White Witch, and Streep voicing Aslan, the talking lion who in the books is the King of Kings. Mulligan will play the very sick mother of Diggory, one of the two kids in the adventure. Netflix had no comment. Mark Gordon, Amy Pascal, and Vincent Sieber are among the producers of the adaptation, which will be getting a 2-week theatrical IMAX run in late 2026, something for which Gerwig fought. Mulligan is a 3-time Oscar nominee for her performance in Maestro, Promising Young Woman, and An Education, and counts Saltburn among her recent offerings, close quote. So, hey, I loved the original movies that Disney did.
Yeah.
Saw the first one in theaters with my grandmother. Loved it. Saw the second one and third one at home. Was busy. Was in school. Didn't have a ton of money. So I Redboxed the following two. But loved the movie, the original ones. And I'm interested to see what they can do with this, especially with a Netflix budget.
Yeah, I'm interested too. I always loved the Narnia series.
Yeah.
Like I always thought, like growing up, like that was one of the book series I actually
Sure.
read. So I'm always kind of like I'm skeptical to see how it comes to live action because I think you really need a Netflix or an Amazon type budget
Yeah.
to really pull it off. Like we see what they do with Wheel of
Yeah.
Time. So
Yeah. If you haven't seen the original or the Disney trilogy they did.
Yeah.
It's on Disney Plus.
yeah,
On Disney Plus.
I have very mixed feelings about
Highly recommend the soundtrack though. Soundtrack for the first one.
that. Soundtrack
is-
was dope.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
Then, in more casting news that we saw this coming, but hey, good to get it officially confirmed. That is Kristen Ritter is returning as Jessica Jones. For what? Daredevil Born Again Season 2. So this is according to an article from Variety. The article reads, Kristen Ritter is officially back as hard-fighting, hard-drinking Marvel hero Jessica Jones. The announcement was made during Disney's upfront presentation to advertisers in New York on Tuesday. Ritter took to the stage with Charlie Cox, star of Daredevil Born Again, to reveal that she would be joining the show for its second season. Quote, it's so great to be back, returning to Jessica after 3 seasons and The Defenders, and now joining the MCU, Ritter said. I'm so excited to bring back this iconic character, and without giving too much away, there is much more in store for Jessica Jones. This is going to be an incredible season, close quote. Ritter first played Jones in the self-titled Netflix series that debuted in 2015. Good Lord.
Yeah, we're old.
Yeah, we are.
Deal with it.
Jessica Jones was one of 5 Marvel shows to air on Netflix, along with Daredevil, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, The Punisher, and the crossover series The Defenders. Jessica Jones ultimately aired for 3 seasons, with its final Netflix season airing in 2019. It was canceled along with all the other Marvel Netflix shows when Disney initiated plans to air Marvel Cinematic Universe shows on Disney+. Close quote.
Well, first and foremost, it's awesome to see Ritter back in the role.
Uh-huh.
Jessica Jones season 1 is amazing. Season 2, Season 3, not bad. I think that's vastly underrated of how good
Sure.
it is. So to see the character come back, first and foremost, it's great to see. The only question I have, because I know instantly the reaction is going to be the Defenders are coming to season 2 of Daredevil.
Of course.
And I'm going to say pause.
Maybe.
It's a definite maybe, but I don't think you can call that shot because as much as it would make a lot of sense to do, there's a lot of moving parts involved, and especially if they're going to do the proper storyline, not Shadowland, which I'm all for. I hope they do. I just think that we have to see if they're going to do any more casting, because if you're going to really put that Defenders team in here, which would make a lot of sense, but then again, I don't know how that would play out depending on where they're going with things. We have to wait to see. But listen, I'm excited to see her come back. For how long? I don't know, because it just depends on what they're setting up.
Yeah. Then we got to get into some video game news. Let's start with the nice one first before we get into the mess. Nice one is Microsoft has announced a whole bunch of retro classics are coming to Game Pass, and that is kicking off with 50 Activision games from the 80s and 90s. So the article on IGN reads, quote, Microsoft has announced Retro Classics with Game Pass, a collaboration with Antstream Arcade to bring a collection of over 50 classic Activision games from the 80s and 90s to Game Pass members. The list includes the likes of Commando, Grand Prix, Kaboom, MechWarrior 2, 31st Century Combat, and Pitfall. Some of the games go back 45 years. Players can even save their progress and continue later, a first for many of these games. Microsoft said Retro Classics with Game Pass is, quote, a step in our commitment to game preservation and backwards compatibility. Retro Classics will be available to all Game Pass membership options in the regions where Game Pass is currently available. Platforms sections include Atari 2600, DOS, and Amiga. It's worth noting that there is a PlayStation section of Retro Classics, which currently includes MechWarrior 2, 31st Century Combat. MechWarrior 2, 31st Century Combat was developed and published by Activision in 1995 on PC before coming to PlayStation and Sega Saturn in 1997. The only game in the SNES section is 1993's MechWarrior. Over time, Microsoft will add more classic games from Activision and Blizzard's back catalog to Game Pass, expanding the Retro Classics collection to over 100 games.
Wow.
Expect additional games to be added monthly. So the current lineup is as follows. This is the launch lineup. You got the Activision Prototype 1, Atlantis 2. I'm not going to go through the whole list, but there, if you go to the article on IGN, you can find it. Commando's on there, Decathlon, Dolphin, Dragster, Fathom, Firefighter, Freeway, Grand Prix, Lesser Blast. I mentioned the MechWarriors are there. Pitfall and Pitfall 2 are on there. Police Quest 1. Space Quest 2, Space Quest 6. There's a whole bunch of stuff on there that, hey, if you're a fan of some of those older games and you don't have a way to play them nowadays, that's a good way to do it. Good on Microsoft.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's definitely cool. I might have to avoid this though for personal reasons, because running Nerd Initiative, being the EIC, so to speak, I'm going to need time to do articles and such, because I see about 7 games already there that would just take up my time, and I disappear. So,
Oh, then let's get into the mess. Oh boy. So Randy Pitchford, who you may or may not know, is the CEO of Gearbox Software, who most notably make the Borderlands games, really put his foot in it this past week, because there was a tweet Nintendo put out in a trailer video, whatever you want to call it, about 4.5 minutes, talking about how Gearbox is bringing the new Borderlands game to the Nintendo Switch 2. May have been already announced. I wasn't aware of it because, hey, I'm a PlayStation guy. I see it's coming to PlayStation. My attention stops there.
sure.
So he quote tweeted this video on Twitter and said, quote, I am so very excited for the Nintendo Switch 2, and I am even more excited to bring Borderlands 4 to this incredible magical machine. You had another user whose handle is Old Gold SOT, said, Randy, quote, Randy, this game better not be $80. Don't take that risk. A lot of gamers aren't going to pay $80 and feed this notion of constant increase of the price tag. You're the CEO. You have some say with the price when it comes to your publisher, close quote. Now, the reason he says $80 is because the upcoming Mario Kart game that's going to be on the Nintendo Switch 2, price point's already been revealed. It's going to be $80 for the base one. I think the deluxe might be a little bit more.
Okay.
On top of that, the running rumor the last couple weeks or so is when Grand Theft Auto 6 comes out, it's going to be $100, which wouldn't surprise me in all honesty. So that's where this fan is coming from with the $80 thing. I just want that for context. Randy Pitchford responded to this person and said, quote, A, not my call. B, if you're a real fan, you'll find a way to make it happen. My local game store had Starlight for Sega Genesis for $80 in 1991 when I was just out of high school working minimum wage at an ice cream parlor in Pismo Beach, and I found a way to make it happen. So that went down, and then a number of other game studios not huge ones, decided to jump in on it for some free publicity. One of which being Devolver Digital, who, if you don't know, they make the Hotline Miami games, probably most notably. But they posted, I think either the same day this happened or the day after, they posted a video of one of their upcoming games. Said, quote, "You're going to be able to buy MyCoPunk for you and 3 of your friends for the price of 1 copy of Borderlands 4. And they decided to include some footage of this, of the game. Randy Pitchford caught word of it and said, quote, "MyCoPunk is cheaper than a point of meth, probably has fewer side effects too," close quote. So this is getting messy. And on top of this all, he decided to post a video yesterday as we record from a couple weeks ago when he was at PAX East, where he said, listen, I don't know what here's the truth. I don't know what it is. I don't know what the price is going to be. There's a whole lot of things that factor into this, and that, especially because the development cost for Borderlands 4 is twice what it was for Borderlands 3. Here's the quote. Quote, "I'll tell you the truth. I don't know. That is the truth. I'll hit it straight on. It's an interesting time. On one level, we've got a competitive marketplace where the people that make these choices want to sell as many units as possible, and they want to be careful about people that are price sensitive. There are some folks who don't want to see prices go up, even the ones deciding what the prices are. There's other folks accepting the reality that game budgets are increasing, and there's tariffs for the retail packaging. It's getting gnarly out there, you guys. Borderlands 4 has more than twice the development budget than Borderlands 3. More than twice. So the truth is, I don't know what the price is going to be," close quote. He went on to say, "Here's the philosophy we have. Whatever the price is, we're entertainers. Yes, we want to get more resources so we can make bigger and better games. There's a reason why Borderlands 4 is so awesome. It's because you guys showed up and supported Borderlands 3, and we had the budget. So we could more than double the budget and feel confident in that. And that's awesome. When the revenue comes in, and we can spend it to make bigger and better games. As artists, we want everybody to have it. We want to make it as easy as possible for everyone to enjoy what we're creating. So it's a weird thing. The fundamental philosophy is we want people to buy it so we have the resources to make more. But we want everyone who buys and plays a Gearbox game to feel certain they got the better end of the bargain. Whatever the price is, that they got the best value. And that's the philosophy we live by. And so we're going to have the price set soon. It might be the new price that Nintendo and Microsoft have led with. It might be that we stay back. It's going to be the people at the publishing house that decide that. And if it is cheaper, then maybe we'll sell you that mini map that you guys want that we'll develop later. How bad do you want that? $10? I'm kidding. Or am I?" He concluded saying, "Borderlands is fucking amazing and it's worth it," close quote. So congratulations on single-handedly ruining your sales, because I think this would have, despite people's reservations and issues with Borderlands 3, because I will say I played Borderlands 3. I enjoyed Borderlands 3. I didn't enjoy it necessarily as much as I did the second one, and I didn't enjoy it nearly as much as I did the pre-sequel, the one that came out after 2. But congratulations on single-handedly ruining your sales, because it's nice and all that you provided context and you posted that video to your Twitter account. No one's going to see it, because all anyone's going to run with and all anyone's going to see from now until when the game releases later this year is, oh, you're going to find a way to make it work.
A couple trains of thoughts here.
Okay.
First and foremost, there's a lot of times that you want to go hard in the paint for your product. And that's great. And listen, I will always say, if you always have to be your own biggest cheerleader when it comes to the projects you do, stuff you do. That's the first and foremost. So I get that.
Mm-hmm.
However, why does the point have to go like? Sometimes on social media, we don't need to address everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you kind of feel that you have to, is it really going to be worth it?
Yeah.
And I understand what he's saying. Like, I'm going to say this. I understand what he was trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
He has this great game coming out, and if you really love a game like this, listen, you'll get it, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
there's certain ways you can come across and say it. I think, in my opinion, as much as Pat's giving his opinion as well, I think he could have been a lot more tactful.
He should have led with what he said at PAX East first.
Yes.
Rather than saying...
Completely.
Rather than sitting there saying, oh, you'll figure out a way to make it work.
Yeah. Because I think what we lose millions of times on social media is what is referred to, I've heard this many times amongst conversations, as text and tone.
Mm-hmm.
And what you might be saying in a very normal and calm tone, as you can hear the sound of my voice, may not come across that way in 164 characters.
Right. It's real easy to type what you say online.
Yes.
But the thing that has been hard to construe, and that's for the entire history of the internet, is meaning and inflection in your voice.
Completely.
You can read someone's response and go, oh my God, they're fucking pissed at me. And you go and you meet with that person and you're a little hesitant, you're a little trepidatious, like, oh God, they're going to yell at me. No, we're fine.
Yeah.
I'm not mad.
Yeah, and I think that his meth comment he made
Yeah.
was supposed to be a joke.
Yeah.
And I mean, I took it as one. I was kind of like smiling and laughing about it because I was like, that's where he was trying to go with it.
It's a little darker humor, but yeah.
It is, but like we associate with people that have that kind of humor.
Uh-huh.
Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Let us be honest.
Yeah.
But that said, though, I think this was a case that you might have wanted to retrace the steps. And I think if he had led with what he said at PAX East ahead of that, like if that was the first tweet, comment, whatever said, it would have gone over easier. The question I will have is when this game does come out, how the sales will be. Because ultimately, it's going to come down to one of two things. If fans are really that offended by what he said, don't buy it. Don't buy the game.
Yeah.
Do something else. You can focus your money to other areas.
Yeah.
Or two, they're still going to go out and buy the game and be mad about it and tweet about it and do whatever about it. But at the end of the day, it's still bought the game.
Yeah.
They have to make the decision for themselves. I mean, if I am that mad about it, I'm not going to buy it. I'll just do it out of spite. You won't have my $80 or whatever the price point is going to be, and I move on with my day. But there will be a lot of people that are still going to buy this, and it's not going to dismay them because they're going to see the game, they love the series, whatever the case is, and go buy it. And that's what I think he was trying to say. Like, it's not to say you're not a real supporter or not a real fan if you don't buy the game.
Yeah.
It's just the context of how it came out. He completely missed the mark.
Yeah. I've for context, I've been playing the Borderlands series since the first one got added to PlayStation Plus.
Yeah.
Way back in 2012. So I've been playing this franchise for basically 13 years now. And I think the perfect response to this was there's a streamer by the name of Moxie, who big Borderlands guy, loves streaming, said, quote, this is in response to the PAX East video Pitchford posted. This was a perfect response and should have been left at this. Your second response is receiving backlash, not because of the price of the game, but because of the wording.
Yep.
Every game is going to be $80 by this time next year. However, fans of Borderlands want the price to be justified because of the ambition, the passion, and the quality that Borderlands 4 will have. They want to feel good about the purchase they are making in a franchise they have loved for more than a decade and support the devs that have had a real impact on their lives. This toxic, not a real fan mentality is not it and is only hurting the people that want to support the game, close quote. Ultimately, that's what it is at the end of the day. If I'm going to drop $80 on a game, I better damn well know I'm going to get my money's worth out of that game. Context, example. I'm playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I have been playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth for a while. I'm over 100 hours into that game. I don't know what the price is on it because I got it as a gift for Christmas. But if the game were $80, I sure as shit would have got my money's worth out of it. I'm 100 hours into this thing and I haven't even beaten it yet. That's ultimately the thing at the end of the day is you're going to charge us $80. You better make sure we get our money's worth out of this because if you don't, you're going to lose my trust and a lot of other people's trust.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the ultimate bottom line. That, it could have been worded a lot better. I think the streamer that you mentioned, he hit it right on the head. And I think that what should be done now is don't get on social media and address it.
Yeah.
You've already said the piece. Be done with it. Focus on the positivity of the game and be hyped that you have a great game coming up.
Yeah.
And don't address anything concerning price points. It is literally not worth it. I got something that's going to cheer Pat up.
Oh, yeah?
Take a look at that screen.
Ooh, hello.
So, from the fine folks at Toho and Marvel, got a nice little press release coming our way. So, quote, this summer, the pop culture showdown fans have been waiting for arrives, and Godzilla destroys the Marvel Universe.
Heyo.
A 5-issue event series written by superstar Jerry Dugan and drawn by acclaimed artist Javier Garron. Following a series of hit one-shots where Godzilla has battled different Marvel heroes across history, which has been going on right now, too. Great stuff. Godzilla Destroys Marvel Universe pits Godzilla, the King of Monsters, against the combined might of the Avengers, Fantastic Four, X-Men, and more. Today, see what is to come with the reveal of Godzilla Destroys the Marvel Universe #2. And the picture I showed Josh, a.k.a. Padawan J, is Venom has taken over Godzilla.
Which is fucking terrifying on a whole host of levels. Pun not intended.
Yeah. It got me so much I actually said Pad's real name. That is how dope that is, folks.
If you want the story behind that, we can tell that for another time.
Yes, we can. But in the meantime, like, oh my God.
I kind of want that as a poster.
The cover's coming out too. Like I said, there's one that I believe they referred to in the press release, and I need to go find it right now because I'm seeing Ghost Rider Zilla.
Oh, hell.
So
You want to kill the entire universe? That'll do it.
I think we'll be...
No. Are we talking regular Ghost Rider or cosmic Ghost Rider?
See, I don't know. Like,
because if we're talking cosmic, it's over.
It kind of looked like cosmic, but I don't know. But
oh shit!
But we're gonna kind of see around with it. So anyway, this series is going to be coming out fairly like in July, I believe. Issue #2 is going to be on sale in August 20th. So definitely head down to your LCS and make sure you get some pre-orders in. The covers look dope.
It's gonna fly off the shelves.
Yeah, we're gonna have this posted on social media at some point this week. So definitely stay tuned for that. But speaking of comic shops, Pat, what are you picking up this week?
I'm recommending the 4 things I reviewed for Nerd Initiative this week. First of which is from Marvel, and that is Star Wars: The High Republic, Fear of the Jedi, issue #4. This one from Kevin Scott, Phil Noto, the incredible Phil Noto on the cover art. You got Marika Cresta as the artist. This one reads, Nightmare above Iriadu. Keeve Trennis and her team of battle-weary Jedi must face their biggest challenge and their greatest fear. The Nameless strike as you've never seen them before. What is the secret of the Nightmare Fleet? And how can Tay Sirik defend himself against the person he loves most? A lot going on over Iriadu if you've been following the High Republic stuff right now. Battles on multiple fronts. This one, though, very interesting because it takes it in a little bit of a different direction than you've been seeing. Highly recommend it. Sticking with the High Republic, over from the folks at Dark Horse, you've got the High Republic Adventures, issue #18 from Daniel Hosek. Older, Harvey Tolabau is on the artwork. This one reads, The Battle of Iriadu comes to an explosive conclusion. Jedi Knight Farzala Terabal leads his fearless allies into a final fight with the Nihil, risking everything in a last-ditch effort to save Iriadu and the Republic. But his opponent, the treacherous Warden, is obsessed with defeating the Jedi, even if it means destroying everything he's fought for. Who will be victorious? This one, a lot of fun, a lot of action, a lot of explosions. Holy cow. Cannot recommend this one enough. Then you get to, oh boy, how do you pick a better one out of these?
Man, this is a tough call. Oof. Seeing Pad's lineup right now.
So you've got Ultimates issue #10 from Dennis Camp. I cannot think in recent memory or long-term memory of a series of comics back to back that have been this damn good. Dennis Camp is on a legendary run.
Yep.
This one reads, The Ultimate Fracture. Dissent destroys the Ultimates as the disagreement long developing between two members of the team leads to a devastating departure. Close quote. There is a twist in this I did not see coming. I don't know where the hell this is going to go from here, but this issue is jaw-dropping to say the least.
Dennis Camp doesn't miss.
No, he doesn't.
And he has 3 books out right now.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimates for Marvel,
yep.
Absolute Martian Manhunter for DC, and Assorted Crisis Events for Image. They're absolutely crushing it right now. And if you haven't checked out his past work, I'll plug it because I know he mentions it a lot, and it's one of the most intense reads I've ever done. 20th Century Men for Image Comics.
Yeah.
His style, and I'm so glad he's blowing up right now, is like everybody should really get on board with what he's doing, and the stuff he's doing in the superhero realm is absolutely next level.
Lastly, and certainly not leastly, you've got Star Wars Legacy of Vader, issue number 4 from the incredible Charles Soule. Stefano Raphael is on the artwork. This one reads, Kylo Ren explores Anakin and Padme's past on Naboo. Kylo and Vanny journey to the home planet of Kylo's grandmother, Padme Amidala, to learn more of Vader's dark secrets. Kylo must battle against Storg Varuna and his raiders, and who will rule Naboo when all is said and done. So this one interesting because it delves into some of the stuff from episode 2 and how Padme and Anakin fell in love. We also get to see Naboo and what it looks like now, because you see Naboo in the prequels. You see Naboo in the funeral procession for Padme. The next time we see Naboo is at the end of Return of the Jedi during the whole parade sequence. And oh, yay, hooray, happy. It ain't all happy and hunky-dory now. It ain't bright sunshine in Italian countryside, because, spoiler alert, that's where they filmed all the Naboo scenes. It was over in Italy. It's interesting to see what Naboo looks like. It's kind of interesting to get some backstory and filled in on what happened between the prequels and now. I highly recommend this issue. Highly recommend this series. It is incredible.
Yeah, this one has got a lot of Star Wars fans talking. Like, I think we get DM'd about this the most out of all the books right now, and rightfully so, because this is not missing.
No.
All right, so my list. One of the most impactful Superman stories of the year has dropped.
Ooh.
Superman Unlimited #1.
Okay.
So this is Dan Slott coming to DC. We know him from Marvel. We know him from Spider-Man.
This is true.
He is now writing at DC for this series. I don't know if it's an exclusive contract top of my head, but Raphael Albuquerque's on the art. And this is a perfect jumping on point for what is the summer of Superman. So I will kind of allude to it because the book is out today as we talk.
Right.
So Superman is going to stop an asteroid that's crashing to Earth. They do a great job about explaining his, impact on the world. Like it's a perfect Superman open.
Right.
Some changes happen in the Daily Planet too. As he gets into space, he finds out that asteroid pad is all kryptonite.
Oh boy.
And what happens after that? See, I'm not going to spoil this. Is absolutely mind-blowing. And this is going to set the table for the rest of the year for Superman in comics. And it's big. I can't emphasize this enough. This is game-changing. So I know this is going to immediately impact the Joshua Williamson title. I believe Action Comics is going to focus more on Superman's early days, and Mark Waid is going to be taking that over.
Oh, okay.
So they're doing a lot of big things here.
Well, given what's coming out in another couple months.
Right. They're loading the deck, which makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
But for what DC is doing here, this is huge. This is going to be one that everybody's talking about, and especially if you're a Superman fan, you can't skip. So I can't recommend this enough. Like, this absolutely smashed it out of the park. Keeping it DC, one of the series, this has been one of the biggest surprises for me, and that is the New Gods. So this is Ram V, and Evan Cagle has been the regular series artist. One thing they've done in this run is they've had guests come in and draw different aspects of the story going on. This one is Felipe Andrade, who that might ring a bell for a lot of fans.
Sure.
Ramvi and him have worked on The Many Deaths of Lila Starr, Rare Flavors. Like, they have a history that they put out absolute hits. This is no exception. And especially this deals with the fallout of Light Ray's death that happened last issue. So New God has died, and this is the vision of the afterlife per se. So this is, like, the stuff he's doing here is next level. And like I say, the New Gods are an acquired taste, in my opinion.
Sure.
Jack Kirby's Fourth World characters, other than Darkseid and Mr. Miracle, Big Barda, I think, has to be in that mix. Orion is probably the most next crossover hero. I think is always a tough sell. But what Ramvi is doing here has been really, like, this next level, like, deep philosophical look at the gods and humans and what's going on there. Because, like I say, the story's told in two parts, but where he goes with this issue to complement last issue, Like, it's some really interesting, deep look at how the new gods are presented. And I think it's very cool. I'm really hoping this gets a very, very long run. And so far, I've been hearing good things. So definitely go check that out. Also, a lot of Batman this week.
Oh, boy.
Batman and Detective Comics, 1097. We're getting near 1,100 issues
Holy smokes.
of Detective Comics.
Holy smokes.
Tom Taylor, Lee Gabbert is stepping in for art with Lee Lowridge on the coloring. So Michael Janin is not on this issue. He does the cover, though. And this is now falling into the effects of the Asema serial killer storyline that is going on. Very cool one, wrapped up. This now deals with the group that was behind Asema, called Elixir. This is more focused on Harvey Bullock than anything.
Hey, all right.
But what plays out, this is Tom Taylor. You know it's going to be a great story, and it definitely lives up to the hype. This is the reason this got nominated for all the Eisners that it did, which I know we're going to kind of dive into maybe more so next week. Because like I say, a lot of our friends over at Nerd Initiative that have come on Turn a Page have been nominated, and this isn't a self-brag. We're so happy to see that they were nominated.
Nice.
That's why I say Tim Sheridan, Alan Scott the Green Lantern got nominated in the pedestrian team. Shout out to Sean and Joey. Like I say, like everybody, like we can go on and on, but I'm trying to save my excitement because I think we're planning on doing something for that. So stay tuned. But like I said, going back to the Batman universe, Batman and Robin Year One, Chris Samney, Mark Waid, the literal Year One of Bruce Wayne and Dick Grayson. Another fantastic story. It's a throwback, but it's starting to dive into the General Grimaldi's focus on finding out who Batman is, and it's a very cool story. Like, you love your classic superheroes, this one's for you. Mm-hmm. Speaking of classic superhero stories, the crossover continues between Batman, Superman, World's Finest, and Justice League Unlimited with We Are Yesterday, Part 4. So, if you've been reading JLU, I have to remember it's JLU, you know a group known as Inferno has been a pain in the united front of DC heroes. Because remember, that's every hero on the planet is a member of the Justice League at this stage. We find out Inferno is actually the old school Legion of Doom. And Gorilla Grodd is behind this. He's done this time displacement, and he's gone in the past. And like they've been doing this very cool back and forth thing. Well, we now see the effects of what happened because the past Batman, Superman, and Robin have now swapped with the present ones, and there's a lot of timeline hijinks ensuing. This is as classic as it gets, and I love the series, and I think that, you know, if you really want that vintage feel, Mark Waid does it better than everybody. And if you talk about superhero stories, he's up there in the top best to ever do it. So this is one you definitely want to go check out. Going to Image Comics now, it's Massiverse. Enough said. It's Rogue Sun 27, so Ryan Parrott, Nick Cotton, Abel, Bruno Frenda, Natalia Marquez, and Becca Carey. So this is now picking up the Noxus portion of Rogue Sun, now training his half-sister Ari, who is now required a Sunstone as well. A lot of things are happening. It's more kind of grounded about their training, but when Noxus comes in, this is when business picks up. And Ryan Parrott's setting up for something big here. I know he is. How this issue ends is wild, so this is one definitely go check out. And then last but certainly not least, I'm just showing Pat the cover.
Holy shit.
Amazing Spider-Man number 4, Joe Kelly, Pepe Larraz. Spider-Man is back, baby. I think I might have put this in every review I've done for this series. Spider-Man is back, baby. Holy smokes. So the entire storyline has been Spider-Man has been drugged.
Right.
Because he investigated, it was stopping the Rhino, and the Rhino had a heart attack out of nowhere.
Okay.
As is investigated, he was drugged.
Okay.
And we find out the person behind the drugging is the Hobgoblin.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. That ain't good.
So now you're seeing this, like, drugged out of his mind Spider-Man who has to use Norman Osborn to help him. Like, it's wild.
You go back 20 years and tell a fan that their head might explode.
Oh, I know. Mine did when I saw this. I'm like, it's very unsettling to me. But this issue is absolutely incredible. Like, Larraz is up there in that top echelon for me for Spider-Man artists. Absolutely crushing this. The fight sequences going on in this is absolutely crazy. And then to see the flashback sequences going on, because like we say, Spider-Man's tripping out of his mind. They have tied a lot to this new character, at least he's new to me, Brian Nevering. Mm-hmm. So Nehring is one of his childhood friends. He gets him a job at Rand Industries.
Okay.
There's something going on with him.
Probably.
So I don't know exactly how it's going to unfold when we see at the end of this arc, which I believe is coming to an end next issue. Then John Romita Jr. takes over for art for that series of events. But I'm very curious to see how he plays into effect. But like I say, Joe Kelly has just nailed this, man. This has been such a cool throwback to the old school Spider-Man. I can't get enough of it. I can't recommend it enough. And if you even want more recommendations, Nerd Initiative has got you. Over 40 reviews this week between YouTube and the website. Nobody does it quite like Nerd Initiative when it comes to New Comic Book Day. So go check them out. Let us know what you're picking up. And for anything and everything that is the ODPH, you can find it at odphpodcast.com. That's it for this week in entertainment. So for the one and only Padawanje.
Thank you.
I'm your host, Ken M. I know it might be the entertainment show, but always remember, it's orange and blue skies forever. Nixon 6, baby. Thank you, as always, for listening to the ODPH podcast. We'll see you next time.